Alright, what up, everybody? We are back. This time, first non-sports video, we are talking Game of Thrones. We've been with it since the beginning, so, let me start by saying that. We're OG fans. Episode 1, we've been on it, yeah?
Yes, I know in the last video I said that NBA playoffs was what was on everyone's mind. That was actually BS. The Game of Thrones is what's on America's mind.
Have you seen the hype around it this year?
It's been incredible. They wait 2 years to get you sucked in. We barely remembered what happened from 2 years ago. I had to rewatch a bunch of episodes to get ready for this one, but I was so fired up on Sunday for the debut of it. I was just couldn't even sit still.
Yeah, it was a fun episode too. I mean, it was what you'd expect it to be in terms of it's a lot of reunions, so they're kind of setting the stage for what this final season is going to be. But even with that said, there were some really cool things. I really enjoyed a lot of it.
And watching these episodes to end the previous season really helped, and it picked up right where it left off and tied in so much that was directly happening. Had I not done that, I may have been a little confused, as I'm not the huge Game of Thrones expert, but I love the show. And Patrick is a historian. He's read most of the books.
As far as the main books, I've read all the books. 2 of my brothers have as well, so shame on you guys. Shame. We're going to talk about our predictions for the 5 people we think are going to survive. Everybody talks about who's going to die. We're going to predict who's going to survive. In addition to that, we'll give our picks for who's going to sit on the throne at the end. So, with no further ado, would you like to start with your first person you think is going to survive?
Sure, I would love to start. And
I would love to hear.
The 5 people that will survive was a little tough for me to think about. It was almost like a riddle or a word problem in a math class. And I thought about it very strategically and mathematically and scientifically. And my first one I will share with you, I think this one was my least scientific explanation.
Okay, I'm glad you explained that ahead of time.
But I just remember the part where this guy, all of his skin got completely burned off, and he looked like he was just going to turn into like a piece of rock, and his skin was turning into rock, and he survived. And that was Jorah Mormont, who actually hails from Bear Island, home of Lyanna Mormont, who's a great 13-year-old character on the show. And I think that they could possibly escape to Bear Island and be safe over there is what I'm thinking. So there is some science behind it, and he survived that terrible rock infection. I think if he survived that, he's going to live through anything.
He survived the grayscale. He's not on my list, let's just say it like that. Okay. Interesting pick. I'll give you that. I'm going to stick with the theme, and I'm going to go with Lyanna Mormont. I think that she is going to be one of the new rulers of Westeros. Not necessarily sit on the throne, but sit in a position of high authority.
I could see that. They snuck her in there at age 11 to try to get her in there, and she's going to be on TV for the next 30 years in the spin-offs. It's going to be Lyanna. She's going to be the hero of all of them.
She's pretty gangster. I like her. All right, who you got on your list next?
My next one is also scientific and with the island theme, and it's Yara Greyjoy. She's now freed in this... Spoiler!
You really did get scientific with this. As silly as that sounds, I mean that.
Yes, I try to bring an element of science to all of my topics, and that's why I went with that. And Yara's freed. She's now no longer a prisoner, and she's got a boat out there with a crew that's going to take care of her. And I think she could survive the White Walker invasion out in the ocean for many years, and she might become a ruler of the next generation as well.
I can see that happening as well. It's funny. I have her as a maybe. She's not in immediate danger. I feel like she might survive simply by way of that. Seeing her yesterday or this week in the episode was the last time we ever hear from her. I don't know that we'll ever see that character again. That's kind of my thought on that.
She's not that popular.
Yeah, but let's. I'm gonna change I think Theon's gonna die, so I'm not gonna stick with that theme, and I think Euron's gonna die as well. So I'm not gonna stick with the Greyjoy theme. Where do we want to go next? Oh, you know what? He hasn't been in the show recently, but he's still, to my knowledge, an active character, and one who holds extremely high title, and that is Lord Robin of House Aaron, who is the kid,
the breastfeeding kid.
Yes, literally that kid.
Oh,
and what you can't forget is this: he is Lord of the Vale.
He's well nourished,
and they owe their allegiance to Sansa. That's who they're fighting for. The Vale's in Winterfell right now, and they're fighting for Sansa. But he's down there still. And if you're gonna go with Yara, I'm gonna go with Robin, because I feel like he might just be there when the pieces are there to be picked back up, and he's just gonna be in a position of authority already. Versus he's gonna be in harm's way or anything like that.
Very interesting choice. I forgot about Brave Sir Robin.
Yeah, that's just kind of my. He might be more brave than Brave Sir Robin even, but that's just kind of. I was trying to stick with at least what I framed it as your pick.
My next pick is very brave as well. Also very scientific of a pick. And it is the Mountain. And the reason, I think, is because he is already dead.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not... You can't...
I think he's going to still survive. He's going to keep going. He's going to keep just roaming. Everyone will be killed by the White Walkers, but he'll still be chilling as himself, the same as he is now.
What if he's able to... What if he's able to... Well, what if the Night King's able to take him over? Like remote control. Warg into him.
I don't know how that really works, but do you think we could end up seeing Hound vs. Mountain?
The Clegane Bowl, that's what everybody wants. Yeah, the Clegane Bowl would be fantastic. I don't have either Clegane surviving either, though, so I'm not going to talk about them. One who I think is going to be the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard or Queensguard moving forward after all that's said and done. And survivor number 3 for me is Lady Brienne of Tarth.
Lady Brienne of Tarth. She's a big target. I feel like she may get centered out by some giants when they fight the White Walkers.
Oh, she absolutely should be a target. She's a force. An absolute force.
So I have low odds on Brienne surviving.
I know, and I understand that, but I'm still going to go with her because they're breaking the wheel. There's never been a man on the Kingsguard, or a woman on the Kingsguard, first off, because women can't be knights. Brienne's going to be Lord Commander.
I also see a woman taking that role eventually, but I think it may be Arya Stark. I don't have her on my list, but I think she could be a great in that category. But someone I do have on my list is another Stark child, former Stark child, who is now the Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh.
Bran Stark I have as one of my survivors.
I thought you were going to go Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen by the former Stark.
Oh no, this is someone who's now transformed humanity and become a Three-Eyed Raven.
You know what? So this is what I've heard. I don't know anything about what's coming up, but I've heard that when we have the big Winterfell battle, it's going to be clear that there's a specific target that the Night King is going after. Somebody in particular. But they haven't revealed who that person's going to be. Bran obviously would be a high value target and somebody that we think might be the person. I really don't know about Bran.
I have to say that one of the most interesting and strangest scenes that was in the first episode that just aired was the scene where we got the reunion of Samwell Tarly and Bran. The line was just so incredible, and I will reenact it for you.
Okay, please.
It was my favorite line of the show, and it was Sam Tarly says, well, he first walks into the room and sees Bran, and Bran says, "Oh, Samuel Tarly, you're a good man." And Samuel Tarly's like, "Oh, you remember me from that one fucking time a long time ago?" Like, "Yeah, I saw you one time." And Bran's like, "Yes, I remember everything." And he says, "Sam, what happened to you after that one day?" And Sam's like, "Oh, not much. What happened to you?" And he's like, "I became the three-eyed raven." What the hell is that? And that was some great...
I'm glad you reenacted that, because that was like frame for frame the exact same thing. I was having a hard time like maintaining reality. It felt like Inception for a second. Boy, you have some skill when you do that.
Well, wasn't that a good scene?
Yeah, fantastic scene. Jeez, sheesh. Alright, well, the next person on my list is Sansa. And I think that Sansa will survive.
I think she's made it this far. She's been through a lot. I mean, she survived the Boltons. I think she's made it here. But I also think they're coming right towards Winterfell. She's right in the line of fire, and she might die this week.
Absolutely on the table. Alright, who's your last survivor?
My last survivor, I just was also someone in the reenactment, was Samuel Tarly is my last choice. And I'm a big believer in the theory that Samuel Tarly is George R.R. Martin, and that you will see him incarnated in everything. And that's where we're getting these stories from, is from Sam Tarly, and that's what's been going on the whole time.
It would make total sense that we're, getting the story told to us by Sam. And that he's a Grand Maester at the Citadel. I wouldn't be shocked to hear that at all. Goodness gracious. Well, I was going to choose Sam, but somebody else is bound to survive, right? So I'm not going to choose Sam for the sake of having a different person to pick. Because Sam was my pick. It's not like that.
Did you believe in the same theory?
It was plausible to me. I thought it over. I wouldn't be shocked.
Did you get the same vibe from the books?
No, not necessarily, because the books are told from... you've seen how the books are. They're told from each chapter is a different character's perspective, And so... in the sake of us reading it that way, being presented the information that way, I don't know that it's plausible to suggest that Samuel Tarly wrote the books as they are. With that said, I don't know if you've read the Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit. They have really, really, really specific language in there, the way they're written, to suggest that Bilbo and Frodo wrote the books, right? I don't know if you knew that as part of the stories. They did, though.
That was a spoiler for me, but now it kind of makes sense that you say that.
It's not... It has nothing to do with the story for the sake of the story, but it's that's how it is. In this, there's nothing to me that suggests that actually is the case. When I read the books and when I see this stuff, it's just the way the information is presented to us. I just don't see how that would be possible. And there's stuff that happens that how would Sam even know about that? You know what I mean?
But you still thought Sam might survive?
Straight up. You know who I think he really should die, in terms of he's an old man, he's done his part, let him go out with a blaze of glory, but I just somehow see him potentially surviving and being a great servant to whoever sits in the Iron Throne, or anybody in general, is Sir Davos Seaworth, the Onion Knight.
He's one of the faces that you see on the show, and you're like, I thought he died, and he's back, and he's still there, and he's right in the mix, man. Right in the mix.
He survives every time. So I just think that he's got a chance to do it for the sake of, it just seems to be, he's a survivor. So those are our 5 people we're picking to survive. Obviously, there's going to be some other people that we think might survive too. There was 5 apiece. All right, to sit on the Iron Throne, if it's not somebody you already listed, who is it?
It is not someone that I already listed.
Yeah, all right.
But I will actually let you just read my response that I wrote.
Is it this down here?
Yes, I tried to write some notes about it, and it really just came down to one sentence for me.
Why don't you explain? He thinks that Tyrion's gonna get the Iron Throne. Why don't you explain?
I'm not exactly sure how it will occur, but I do think that we saw the sweatiest and shadiest scene of all time in the Game of Thrones series at the season finale last year. But it was cut away from, and we didn't actually see what happened. You got to see the build-up of what happened in the great speech between Tyrion and his sister, and they made the secret deal. But then all of a sudden it cut out, and they had made the deal, and we never knew what happened. I think Tyrion has made some very shady deal that he's gonna somehow, for the Lannisters, take down the Targaryens and the Starks, and he made this deal with the Queen Cersei that he's actually totally on the Lannister side, and he's gonna get somehow take everything back for them and conquer the North during his escapades up there.
It's funny, if he were to get the throne, I sure hope it wouldn't be in that way, because it seems like that is kind of a betrayal of who he is as a person. The end result, I don't necessarily disagree with. The way it goes about happening, I don't see it. I hope it doesn't happen that way.
I'm not sure exactly how it will happen, but I just want to really see it. I think that would be a tremendous finale for the whole series, and Peter Dinklage is a great actor, and I think it would be the culmination of his career, and he could go out on top on the Iron Throne, literally.
All right, so I'm not necessarily rooting for this, but I think that first off, to all of our longtime viewers, you may have noticed we lost another light this time. This time it was a different light. It was the backlight and not one of the front lights. These moments in life are difficult, but you fight through them and get on to the next day.
Yeah, Patrick is our cinematographer, and he's done a tremendous job so far, and he's very dedicated to the lights, and we appreciate all of the feedback we've gotten on the lighting.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you, Al. You can call him Al. My pick for the Iron Throne is actually going to be somebody who was on my list. Sansa Stark.
It's going to be Sansa. How do you see Sansa leaping over Targaryens and her brother, friend, Snow guy?
Without getting too deep into theories and things and such of that nature, because I can talk for hours on and for that.
It's a very scientific show.
I will say that I just see it as a happening of, I think that what might happen is a lot of the people in the North are going to end up fleeing south because of everything, all the happenings going on in the North right now. And fleeing for their lives, essentially. And then, in the aftermath of the Great War, I feel like there's only going to be a handful of people left, and she's not going to be out there fighting. She's going to be in the castles, and she's proven herself to be administratively sound. She's got the King's Landing history. She's related to royalty through Jon. She's not a direct descendant of him, but I don't know that there will be any more direct descendants of Targaryens. Unless for the book readers will agree with me on this one. Unless there's a certain surprise that we don't know about that something in the books has happened, but they seem to not be going that direction in the show, so I don't see them investing the time in it this season either. It seems like too late for a surprise of that magnitude.
I am so confused.
Yeah, the Golden Company issue, you people know what I'm talking about, but he wouldn't get it. You gotta be a book reader. Sorry, Al. I don't want to spoil it for you, though. It is...
Well, I'm excited to see what happens.
It may end up being nothing, so I don't want to go over it,
5 episodes left. It's been one of my favorite HBO series. I'm excited to see how it wraps up. And
it's funny, I see all these different people talking about how they're going to cancel their HBO as soon as Game of Thrones is over. I'm like, HBO always puts out such good content. Like, they're always making great shows. Game of Thrones is the best show ever made, but they're always making great shows.
It's up and down on the subscription market and see what's hot and dump them and get new ones.
No, I know, but it's pretty crazy. To any of you guys who watch this show, you should watch Barry as well. It's fantastic. It's one of the best shows on TV. Alright, we're gonna get out of here. Winter is coming. I'm cold. Brr.